Hey there! Today I'm going to talk about one of the crazier rosters I have put together recently. My name is Nate, and welcome to the Gamers Guild. It's been a while since I have gotten really excited about an entire roster. Recently, for my weekly game nights, I just throw together a list the day of and maybe try a new splash or affiliation, but haven't really put any serious thought into tactic cards or crisis cards or anything like that. But that changed when I had the idea of trying Ulik in Avengers. The main appeal to this idea is that Ulik can use his pseudo charge to get to the midline as his first action and make an attack. So he is getting 2 6-die attacks on the midline, round 1. And then I couldn't bring myself to take my Mind Gem Loki out of the list because he is just so stupidly good with Steve. Then the idea hit. What if all of my characters were stupidly large beaters? With that idea as the focus point, I present to you Steve and his big punchy friends. Now, this is a bit of a meme list. Granted, so was my rapid fire and rerolls list with Shadowlands Daredevil, but it turned out to have some really strong legs, because it turns out memes can hurt, especially when they get tuned. So I'm going to start with this list that I'm playing that is just a lot of big, fun, heavy hitters. And then afterwards, talk real quick about how I think this list could be tuned if you're really wanting to maximize some choices, if that's the itch you want to scratch. To start, we do have 5 affiliated members on the team. Core Cap, who is really the only model to consistently hit the table on this list because there's not a lot of flexibility. Then we have Hulk, Hulkbuster, Thor, and Core Widow. Then for the 5 splashes, we have 3 more 5 threats with Mind Gem Loki, Ulik, Red Skull, Master of Hydra. We then have the 7-threat Cat King with Malekith, and an 8-threat Thanos using the Power and Space Gems. So let's break down this meme list and why it can actually still be really strong. Captain America is the core cap that we've known since day one. He reduces the cost of the first superpower a character can use each turn. And since a lot of these 5+ threat characters rely on superpowers to make their presence known, Steve lets them do that even faster. As well, Steve is one of the best bodyguards in the game, so having him along for the ride is really going to help support these big characters from big attacks. As well, stopping an attack that could stagger a character like Hulk or Malekith is also a big help. The other exception to the 5+ threat rule in this list is Core Widow. She is here to help with weird point totals and keep affiliation. She is also great to have if an opponent pulls out a D secure, and just letting her dance between the points on a B also works really nicely. As well as a bonus, anything dedicated to dealing with her means that my threat is being used in a better capacity elsewhere on the board. Rounding out the rest of the Avengers are Hulk, Hulkbuster, and Thor. Hulk and Hulkbuster together is a really scary front line with the amount of damage they can put out, especially during round 1. Hulkbuster can either get a guaranteed terrain throw off, or he can hit and run and try to get the extra power for a throw, while Hulk can almost always throw some terrain and land a punch all in the first round. Thor isn't quite as durable as these other guys, but he certainly has a chance to land punches just as hard, so he is a great slot in for an affiliated 5 when it's needed. The out-of-affiliation 5s are where things really open up though, as they all offer great damage output, but then something unique. Mind Gem Loki is a control and disruption piece that is great for dealing with other Steve lists, as well as helping to mitigate other Thanos and Malekiths that your opponent could bring. As well, counting blanks on attack and defense is really good. Not to mention, on Gamma, Loki is just crazy. Ulik is the mobile death dealer of the bunch. His charge that alone just covers a stupid amount of distance can even be used twice during a turn to really just run circles around the board to help with different secure layouts. Red Skull does this as well, but in a different way, because he comes with the Hydra Troopers that can be left behind to help secure a back point while Red Skull is out dealing out 6-die hits, again counting blanks. I haven't put Malekith or Thanos on the table with this list yet, but I have seen my opponents already shift their list building strategies against this list because of these two. That said, Super Thanos, Thor, and Steve could also make for a really nasty 17 threat, since Thanos can portal Thor up so he gets 2 big swings off round 1. Not to mention all of the displacement that he also brings to the table. Malekith, pre-nerf, was, well, he needed the nerfs. Steve kind of negates one of the 2 nerfs, though, that he was given, so Malekith, while not as tanky, is just as lethal as he ever was before his changes. I think he brings the most value on a spread-out scenario where his mobility can really shine without being focused down. But that is also just theory at this point, so let's talk Crisis and then Tactics. For Extracts, I'm bringing Researcher, Hammers, and Montesi. Researcher keeps the battle focused in a limited area. Forcing a fight is a big deal for this roster, and since Researcher isn't really worth pushing it forward for a possible 1 point, forcing your opponent to come to you is great. Hammers is a tough one because it can make certain lists really good against this one, but we like extracts that you can hold multiple of, and if the right character gets 2 or 3 of them, you can just snowball off of that attrition to win. Montesi is there because it gives my big characters a way to hit multiple characters, a mystic attack which I don't really have any of, and also importantly, there are only 3 books, so my opponent can't easily outscore me on extracts just because of my lack of bodies. As for the secures, I'm bringing Gamma Shelters, Sword, and Intrusions. Gamma Shelters is basically just another version of Researcher that contains the fight to a certain area. As well, Hulk, Loki, and Steve is just a nasty kind of drug to try at 15. Sword Base has the advantage of never having a wasted move action for most of the big guys, as they will typically have a way to get from one sword base to another without actually having to move. Whether it's a charge, a gamma leap, or even a trigger off of an attack. And having a last activation Malekith who can flip a couple points while also having a pretty good shot at dazing your opponent's last character to prevent them from flipping those points back is a really strong play. Intrusions is kind of similar to Gamma, just laid out in a different way. It will allow you to lean heavily into one side of the board, and then when needed, you can send your heavy hitters into a portal to go deal damage, if there isn't damage to be dealt where they are currently at. And because mobility isn't as needed, characters like Loki and even Red Skull can really shine with their super consistent attacks. And this leads me into the Team Tactic cards. We only have 1 restricted card because Space Gem Thanos is really good. Reality is 2, but when you have 3 size 4 characters in the list, Brace for Impact is just not a card you can skip on. Especially since Thanos isn't going to hit the board every game. We then have the Avengers linchpin that is Avengers Assemble. Hulk and Hulkbuster getting a short move on their 65mm base for 1 power is dumb, so enjoy that. From here, though, things get a little funny. I'm personally bringing Sibling Rivalry, Power of the Cosmos, Raw Control, Midnight Phantasmagoria, Face Me, Inspiring Monologue, Fallback, and Smash. As far as reasoning goes, well, there isn't much logic to the madness here. Get Help, while very niche, is also really strong. Auto Stagger and Mobility for Loki is really good things, but having him and Thor on the table together isn't something that's going to happen a lot. Raw Control is more mobility for the mobile guy, so it might be a little bit redundant, but being able to be pushed out of the fight only to reappear and still get 2 punches in is big, especially if he gets like slowed or other stuff. Power of the Cosmos and Midnight Phantasmagoria are both range 3 control cards to just get people off of objectives. A late activation of these cards on Gamma or Researcher can be backbreaking. Inspiring Monologue and Fallback are both good tools to keep heavy hitters alive when they get out of position. And then Smash, kind of the inverse of Brace for Impact, when you have 3 size 4 characters who can just get 3 extra dice on their attacks. It's really good. So the overall idea is to get an advantage from round 0 and 1 and push that advantage to the finish line. Round 0 because it's pretty hard to know what to bring against a list that has potentially Hulk, Hulkbuster, Thanos, Malekith, and all the other big heavy hitters. Because at the end of the day, they aren't all making it to the table, but what counters one doesn't really counter the rest super well. Then in round 1, the alpha strikes that this team can make should make your opponent end up with at least one dazed character, which you can then alpha strike because you probably have a lower model count than your opponent at the beginning of round 2 so that they don't ever get to activate again. And then your opponent is just down 2 to 4 threat for the rest of the game. So this list brings a lot of punch, but not a whole lot of flexibility. If you are looking to make this a little bit more viable or tuned, the main two things I think are adding in a 3 and 4 threat that can open up your list building while still threatening lots of big scary characters. For that, I would drop Ulik in favor of Baron Zemo, and drop Thanos or Thor in favor of Black Panther. This will also then open up 2 team tactic cards because you were losing Raw Control, and then either Sibling Rivalry or Power of the Cosmos. From there, you can add in Dark Reign and maybe even Black Bifrost, or patch up if you ended up dropping Thanos. Zemo is there mostly because he opens up the possibilities of list building around Malekith's Cabal, which has a strong attrition game plan anyways, and then Black Panther just gives more flexibility for the Avengers on water secures and extracts. But that wraps up all of my thoughts for this roster. Please let me know if you do try it out, what you think of it, or what you changed, who you dropped, added in who, and so on and so on. Real quick here at the end, I do want to again announce that we have taken the Discord to public for the Guild Hall, mostly because we just want to continue growing a community that is focused on the fun of the game, and so if you want to just come and enjoy the revelry, I guess, of Discord and talking with us and about the excitement for the games, or even discussions like what your favorite Oreo flavor is, feel free to click on the link down in the description. As well, though, those who are supporting us on Patreon, we continue to appreciate your support and am seriously thankful, because it's not a far stretch for me to say I don't think I would continue doing this without some of the encouragement that I get from there. So thank you guys. If you are looking to support the Gamers Guild podcast, YouTube, whatever else, you can go to Patreon. It's $1 a month or more if you are feeling generous, I guess. Gets you some extra perks and whatnot. But if you want to do that, or if you are shopping online anyways, you can shop in the UK at Tritex. Use the code TritexGGCP5 at checkout for an extra 5% off. And if you use that on a pre-order item like Emma Frost and Psylocke, it'll actually end up saving you 25% off of retail. I will mention, though, that Tritex is taking pre-orders for Shatterpoint, if that's something you're interested in, and have mentioned that any Ahsoka promos they get will be going to those who pre-order first. So reach out to them for more details about that if you are eager to get your copy secured. If you are in the US, head to GameChefs.org and use the code GamersGuild, no spaces, and it'll save you an extra 15% off of their already discounted prices, which comes out to a really good bargain on your end. However, I will continue to say, if you're shopping from your own LGS, just keep supporting them. We all understand and support that. So, thank you all for watching, and until next time, keep on gaming.